I'm really excited to be talking about this gospel about where Jesus chases the money changers and all the animals out of the temple. I think that this is an amazing portrait of Jesus that John paints for us. It's one of my personal favorites because it shows that Jesus is not a pacifist. He's not neutral. In fact, there's lots of gospel stories that show where he's constantly standing up for people who are outcast. He's always standing up to people in these stories who are like us, people who think that they're good Christians. You know, the Pharisees were supposed to be the high priests, and he's constantly challenging them on their behavior. The money changers in the temple thought that they were conducting regular temple business. They didn't think that they were doing anything wrong. And Jesus comes in and he's furious about what they're doing. And it says he makes a whip out of cords and that he chases the animals out. I just picture this huge frenzy. This is not somebody who's a pacifist. This is somebody who's really angry. This is a deeply human emotion. And another thing I love about this particular story is it really captures the duality of Jesus. We go from him standing up to the money changers and telling them to not conduct business in his Father's house to him foreshadowing his own death and resurrection. Great display of the amazing duality that is Jesus. He goes from experiencing this truly human anger, then he goes to foreshadowing his own death and talks about being raised from the dead. That's not a very human thing to do. I think it's amazing, this story, because it incites in us a need to stand up and do the right thing even when it's hard. And it shows how anger, even though it's a difficult emotion, sometimes it can motivate us to do what is right even when it's hard. It also shows that he's human, but he's also God. In foreshadowing his death and resurrection, he's telling us that death is not forever. And I think that that's a really hopeful thing for us to think about, especially in these times. As I reflect on this gospel, I think it's important to use the rest of Lent to think about Jesus' sacrifice that he's going to make for us on Good Friday, but also to look inward and ask ourselves, are we really living the life that Jesus wants us to live? Or is there something that I can do to make the world a better place? What's one thing that I can do? So in the last days of Lent, these are things that I think that we should think about and reflect on.